would you believe that they put a man on the moon?
Who? Hey, these guys?
NASA.
Oh, NASA. Yes, yeah, I think
You believe that?
Yeah, I believe it.
Yes, you believe it. Good, that's all. That's sort of all at the end of the question, really. But you probably know that quite a lot of people don't believe it.
No.
Yeah, but, well, I sort of believe one thing.
Yeah.
Which is I kind of believe that they might have done some mocked-up fake photographs.
Really, why?
Because I was showing... Someone convinced me of it.
Yeah.
by talking about the angle of light and the shadows on the moon and all that. But then I did an advert with Patrick Moore, and I said, so, Patrick, did they land on the moon? And he looked so annoyed with me.
Yeah.
Actually, he explained to me how he had helped map the moon for NASA, and he'd spent years on the project, and the landing site was partly his idea, and if I ever spoke to him again, he was going to be sick in my eyes.
They are rather tight. If you'd spoken to Buzz Aldrin, he might have punched you.
I was going to say...
Buzz Aldrin punched someone because he just got so tired of these conspiracy arses.
I think it was a television documentary about...
Well, there have been several, of course.
You know, look at this photo. This couldn't possibly have been taken on the moon. This is obviously taken in a studio.
You're getting me started now, because everyone gets very sort of strange about this. But there are a lot of conspiracies. 6% of Americans believe that man didn't land on the moon, but 25% of Britons believe that they didn't. So it's a quarter of our nation are not convinced, apparently.
That's so depressing.
Isn't it?
It is.
The flag, it's one of the thing I read...
the flag is another thing, yes.
The flag, and
yeah,
think,
but there it is.
Well, obviously they've starched the flag because they wanted to get a good photograph of it. They've stiffened the flag.
No, they haven't stiffened it. That's the point. The fact it's rumpled. There's no breath of wind out there, obviously, because you're in space, which is, as it were, a vacuum. But what there is movement. If you impart movement to something, it doesn't stop moving for a long time because there's nothing to... There's no resistance against it. So they unpacked it, unfurled it, put it down, and it moved back and forth. People said, breeze. Ha-ha. As if, A, they would be stupid enough to fake it and allow the tape that had the breeze in it to go out.
But also, if you went to the moon, the least you'd expect is a flag moved a bit strangely. You know what I mean? You expect him to make the soup dragon, you think, OK, he's not there. The flag moves a bit strangely, I can go with that.
Yeah. Why isn't one of them holding up a camera? Because you can see him reflected, the one taking the picture's reflected in the visor of the one, and he's not holding up a camera like that, you see. But that's because they didn't, in the visors, put a camera up in front of their visor. They were mounted.
You couldn't really actually imagine them getting a camera out, you know, click,
like that.
wind it on.
I'd like to go to the moon.
You would like?
Oh, yeah, I'd like to do that.
Yeah. I mean, two of the other things, just in case people are saying, but you haven't mentioned the clincher. One was the idea that below the lunar module that landed, there was no crater or sense of disturbed dust. The fact is, the engine's cut off and it hovered down and it very, very quickly landed. And unlike in science fiction films, it doesn't send out spears of flame as it descends. That just didn't happen. So,
because it was designed by, you know, human brains and geniuses, and not a lot of people sitting tapping away at the internet who've got to go up to work in the morning.
Yeah,
Who do you trust here?
We are in trouble as a species if people refuse to believe in things that they couldn't actually do themselves.
So true. So true. And the other one was the footprints. They said, look, there's too much moisture because look how clear they are. Only a sort of caked mud could do that, but actually you could do that with flour. The fact is, it's just very fine ground, and it makes... And there's, of course, it's a vacuum again. It coheres. And the other thing with the mirrors that Apollo 12 astronauts put on the moon, which are now used for bouncing lasers off, for detecting, for example, how far the moon is getting away from us. And you can make incredibly accurate measurements because of mirrors on the surface of the moon. And perhaps, to me, the clinching one is that America's enemy at the time in the space race was the Soviet Union. And not once did they make a suggestion that they thought America hadn't done it. They never said, no, we know this was hoax.
Yeah.
The fact is, for every ill-conceived argument that the moon landings were a hoax, there's a perfectly logical explanation to put our minds at rest.